In 2019, researchers analyzed 17 languages from across the globe and found something unexpected. No matter how fast or slow languages are, they all transmit the same amount of information within the same amount of time. Faster languages need more syllables to communicate what slower languages can do with fewer syllables. They all converge towards 39 bits of information per second. But there's more to the riddle. Why do languages we don't know always sound so fast to us? Why can a Spanish speaker understand Brazilian Portuguese easily, but find the Portuguese from Portugal almost completely unintelligible? And what does that have to do with Morse code and machine guns? Let's dive in. Japanese. Not only the next language I want to learn, but also the fastest of the 17 that have been analyzed. A language that averages nearly 8 syllables per second.
この寒さだしね。スバイがずっと楽しみにしてたのは知ってるし、約束だし。もちろんただ約束したからってだけじゃなくて、それは私も少しは楽しみにしてたわけだけど、でもこんなに寒くちゃね。仕方ありません。
This was of course an extreme example. Emilia, more like Eminem. But you get the point. Spanish is the second fastest language on the list, and I'm at a point where I'm sometimes even surprised how well I understand fast-spoken Spanish. That is, as long as you're not from Chile.
O el acento chileno no lo entiendo. Cuando el acento, bueno, si el acento chileno es súper fácil de entender también, porque si la wea, bueno, tenés que entender un poco, es como, igual yo sé que entiendo que rápido, pero al final igual es como que si lo escuché lo suficiente, igual lo entendí, Julio.
Mandarin Chinese, or also German, my native language, take a more measured approach when it comes to speed. What makes this difference possible is how these languages package their information. Japanese only has 643 possible syllables to work with. To compensate for this limitation, it needs to use more syllables to express the same idea. English, on the other hand, has almost 7,000 distinct syllables. That way, each English syllable contains more information, which allows us to speak more slowly. Vietnamese takes this to the extreme. With its complex system of 6 tones, each Vietnamese syllable packs around 8 bits of information, the highest density recorded. Vietnamese speakers can convey the same message using fewer syllables than Japanese speakers, who only get about 5 bits per syllable. And this balancing act between speed and density brings us to the interesting number of 39 bits per second. It seems to be hardwired into our brains, or at least some researchers believe it's some kind of biological barrier. To put this into perspective, the world's first computer modem from 1959 could transfer 110 bits per second, already faster than human speech. Today's average home internet connection handles 100 million bits per second, yet our brains stick to the seemingly modest rate of 39 bits. When I did the research for this video, this fact reminded me of another video I've seen of Elon Musk a while ago, where he talks about bandwidth and latency between our brains and our, let's say, computers.
Do you think that it's likely that we will merge somehow or another with this sort of technology and it'll augment what we are now? Or do you think it will replace us?
From a long-term existential standpoint, that's like the purpose of Neuralink, is to create a high bandwidth interface to the brain such that we can be symbiotic with AI. Because we have a bandwidth problem. You just can't communicate through your fingers, it's too slow. I think best case scenario, we effectively merge with AI, where AI serves as a tertiary cognition layer, where we've got the limbic system, kind of the primitive brain essentially. You've got the cortex. So you're currently in a symbiotic relationship. Your cortex and limbic system are in a symbiotic relationship. Now, if we can have a third layer, which is the AI extension of yourself, that is also symbiotic. And there's enough bandwidth between the cortex and the AI extension of yourself such that the AI doesn't de facto separate, then that could be a good outcome. That could be quite a positive outcome for the future.
So instead of replacing us, it will radically change our capabilities.
Yes, it will enable anyone who wants to have superhuman cognition.
It's really not about raw speed. It's about our ability to process and understand information in real time. But even that seems kinda strange if you think about it. An average English speaker reads about 238 words per minute, which is a lot faster than talking and listening. We can understand these texts without any issues. However, you can also do the same with audio. Just listen to this, it has 238 words per minute.
Languages across the world exhibit fascinating variations in speed, yet research has uncovered a remarkable universal constant. All languages transmit information at approximately 39 bits per second.
Fairly easy, right? It's not information extraction when reading, and it's not the processing when listening. You might think speaking is the limiting factor, but even that's not entirely true. Take Eminem's Rap God, for example. The song averages 257 words per minute, with sections peaking at an incredibly 388 words per minute, far beyond normal speech rates. Professional auctioneers and some debate champions can also reach similar speeds. The real bottleneck, according to evolutionary linguist Bart de Boer, is our ability to construct ideas in real time. So it's not our understanding or speaking per se, it's the combination out of thinking and speaking. When you're speaking a language, you're not just moving your mouth, you're simultaneously planning what to say next, organizing your thoughts and putting them into words. This mental choreography seems to hit its limit at around 39 bits per second, and we know that the brain really lights up during speech. It's a much more complex process than we often think. So it's only natural that speaking comes a lot later than the ability to listen when learning a language. Even advanced language learners often struggle with spontaneous conversation. They might understand fast speech perfectly and be able to read quickly, but speaking fluently is a different challenge altogether. Now there's another fascinating aspect to language speed, which was discovered by phonetician Arthur Lloyd James. He noticed that languages fall into two distinct rhythmic patterns, and he described them with a brilliant analogy. Some languages sound like machine guns, while others sound like Morse code. Depending on what category your native language falls into, the other languages from the other category sound weird to you, or they sound fast to you. There is no proof to this, but neither is there proof for the input hypothesis, and I guess that just seems to be a common thing in linguistics that no one can agree with each other. Languages like Spanish, French, Italian and Japanese belong to the first group, syllable-timed languages. Each syllable gets roughly the same amount of time, creating that rapid-fire machine gun effect. Then on the other hand, we have stress-timed languages, like English or German. These languages space out their stressed syllables at regular intervals, like Morse code signals, while squeezing unstressed syllables in between. Listen to this example.
Okay, so let's have a look at this example sentence. So we're going to start with a really short sentence. It only consists of 3 words and also 3 syllables. Okay, so we've got boys play games. So let's see what happens when we add more syllables and more words to the sentence. Okay, and first of all, we've got 4 syllables here and we say the boys play games. And then we're going to go a little bit further and add 1 more by saying the boys will be playing the games. And so we add another article. So you can see we have increased the sentence from 3 syllables to 8 syllables. Now, but the timing is the same from sentence number 1 to the very last sentence. So boys play games will take approximately the same amount of time as saying the boys will be playing the games. And so will be and the games have to be said a lot faster so that we can keep to the same timing from one stressed syllable to the next. And I've underlined the stressed syllables for you to make it a bit clearer.
This rhythmic difference might be one of the reasons why languages we don't know sound fast to us. Our brains are trained to process languages according to specific rhythmic patterns. And when we hear a different pattern, it can sound like an overwhelming stream of syllables. We don't know enough vocabulary, so we don't really understand where words end and where they start. If you're an English speaker and you're listening to me, you won't have any problems with this. You intuitively know where a word ends and where the next word starts. You have absolutely no trouble identifying which are the separate words, but you don't need to do that consciously and you just understand. And here we can conclude our earlier puzzle about Portuguese. Brazilian Portuguese maintains more consistent vowel pronunciation, whereas European Portuguese often reduces or eliminates unstressed vowels. Or, in other words, Brazilian Portuguese maintains that machine gun rhythm that Spanish speakers find familiar, while European Portuguese follows the Morse code pattern, making it sound completely different despite using the same words. I always thought that European Portuguese sounds like a mix of Spanish and Russian, and I guess that's the same reason, because Russian as well falls into this category of Morse code languages. I don't know if you hear this, but these are monkeys. So what can we learn from all of this for our language learning process? First, don't get discouraged when a foreign language sounds impossibly fast. Your brain isn't broken, it's just not yet tuned to that language's rhythm and information packaging system. It takes a long time to get used to a new language, and some parts, like understanding unknown accents, will stay difficult even longer. It's like training your brain internal autocorrection system, and this takes time. Secondly, if you're learning a language from a different rhythm category than your native tongue, pay special attention to its natural flow. In my video about comprehensible input, I was making clear that it's important to focus on understanding the content of the language, to understand messages and not to focus on the language itself. However, the latter can be useful and interesting too. We explored one aspect in this video, and I believe that this background knowledge can help you identify and understand the language and the different rhythmic patterns that exist, and that gives you confidence in being able to learn it over time. The best way to achieve fluency isn't through textbooks, it's through massive exposure to the language through listening and reading, until the patterns become second nature and your speaking skills emerge gradually. Watch this video next if you want to learn more about my favorite language learning method. Thank you for watching, and I see you next time.